According to Daniel, if he's the one coming on the cloud, then what does that make the current anointed ones in Jerusalem or on the earth from Daniel 7? It makes the high priest a monster or a beast. The high priest Caiaphas is literally speaking against the Most High, and he's going to help wear out the saints. And this whole trial goes against the times and the laws given about finding a deceiver or a false prophet. Good evening and happy after the Sabbath days. Shalom, shalom. Welcome back to Study the Bible, not the Sermon TV. It was too hot in the studio, so I had to bring it outside. This is still Mehelok, the slow Genesis walkthrough, and I am Brother Nicodemus O. Smith. That's O. not E. Baby. I mean, I always have a prayer for people who unalive themselves, because who would do it to themselves unless Satan was talking to him, or was a demon controlling them, or at least influencing them? I'm just saying. But yeah, he was from Harlem, so nah, no relation. But if this is your first time here, welcome to where we have come to understand strange Bible stories. If you are moved by something you see, hear, or read while you're here, please smash that like button, hit subscribe, and then slide on our notifications bell. Now, this week, the hope for that coming seed is bound up in one line from Genesis 3. But then throughout the Old Testament, it gets divided up into all these different characters: priests, prophets, king, and they all do kind of good, maybe for one or two stories, but then they all fail. And then all those threads come back together in Daniel chapter 7. Jesus is called the Anointed One most consistently in the gospel. Christ means Anointed One. And there are two anointed figures in the Old Testament. The most famous ones are the king, and the other one is the high priest. And you might say, okay, so what? Well, you have to have all this swirling around in your mind and in your brain to fully grasp the scene here. Now, when Jesus was standing trial, the fake trial, false accusers keep coming up, bearing false witness, and Jesus wouldn't even respond. But then the high priest says, I adjure you, which is a way to say you now have to answer, because the high priest is the new Adam. At least his title makes him the image of God in glory. Therefore, Jesus was compelled to answer God's image when he asked, by the living God, tell us, are you the anointed one, the Son of God? Now slow down. Don't rush past this like an American. In Matthew 26, we have one human anointed ritually by the title, the new Adam, who is here talking to the actual anointed one, the second Adam. And this is all happening because Jesus stunned on everybody in the temple the other day. And so we get to Matthew 26 and verse 63 and 64. And it says, but Jesus held his peace, and the high priest answered and said unto him, I adjure thee by the living God that thou tell us whether thou be the Christ, the Son of God. Jesus said unto him, thou hast said, nevertheless, I say unto you, hereafter shall you see the Son of Man sitting on the right hand of power and coming in the clouds of heaven. When I look up, I'm signaling to you to check and see if the statement just went over your head. Now, keep in mind, every person in this room grew up on Daniel 7, understanding it as Israel's salvation. But through this statement, Jesus has framed his trial around Daniel 7, with the people in the room swapped out as the rulers from Daniel 7. Now, if you're able to catch that, then you can see Jesus is clearly claiming to be the one who's gonna or come with the cloud. According to Daniel, if he's the one coming on the cloud, then what does that make the current anointed ones in Jerusalem or on the earth from Daniel 7? It makes the high priest a monster. Caiaphas is the beast, literally the one who is against the Most High, who is going to help to wear out the saints. And this whole trial is going against the times and the laws. In the Torah, this is not how you find out if the man is deceiving the people, by having a secret trial with false accusers. So this is hugely, hugely significant for Jesus' own identity. This is the kind of stuff that gets Jesus killed. And the Son of Man is Jesus' preferred title to describe himself, the human one. When you go into Paul's letters, what it means to follow Jesus is to be transformed into his likeness. which is to have the true human image renewed. This is the story of the Bible. It's about discovering the true calling of our identity, to discover who you really are, and to discover there's a way of being human that I never would have imagined. And that it's not just that Jesus is the model of it, though that's true. It's also that he is the actual gateway to it as well, through what he did on our behalf. Hopefully everybody was able to swallow that. Next week, Lord willing, I think I'm going to share some insights, things that I've gotten from chapter 1 before we move into chapter 2. But until then, we up.